She was born in South Korea. She moved to the United States on Christmas Eve, 1985, at the age of 4 months. She was adopted by an American couple. They lived in Lockport, New York, until she was 17 years old, when she moved to Florida to live with her adoptive grandparents. She attended South Sumter High School with a guy named Joshua Duckett, whom she began dating. Melinda got pregnant and gave birth to Trenton shortly after graduating high school. She and Joshua got married in July of 2005. The DCF records show that Trenton's parents had quite the tumultuous relationship that often put little Trenton in the center of all of their fights. The first entry on the DCF timeline, I speak English, this is like the 4th video I've recorded today, was recorded April 6th, 2005. DCF said it received a report from Sumter County that indicated that Melinda had threatened to harm Trenton unless Joshua went to her home to talk. The report alleged that Melinda had scars on her arms from cutting herself, and that she had squeezed Trenton so tight that he had screamed. For the next 3 months, the timeline reports on growing violence between Melinda and Joshua included an incident during which she allegedly dangled Trenton over water to provoke Joshua. But in the midst of all this, the couple got married. During the first 2 years of his life, little Trenton had been shuffled back and forth between his parents, his paternal grandmother, and his maternal grandparents, and foster care. The records also report psychological evaluations on Melinda Duckett, and in December of 2005, she was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder. But entry after entry indicated there was no psychological reason that would preclude Melinda from being a capable and loving parent. Melinda, after all this fighting, filed for divorce in July of 2006. On August 27th of 2006, that's where our real story starts. Trenton's mother, Melinda, put Trenton to bed in his bedroom in their apartment at 7 p.m. She had 2 male friends over to watch a movie, and when she went to check on Trenton 2 hours later after the movie was over, he was gone. One of the male friends called 911, not Melinda, to report Trenton missing. He then passed the phone over to her, and she oddly was unable to describe some things and answer some simple questions, pertinent questions that were asked by the 911 operator. "What was Trenton wearing?" the dispatcher asked. "I don't know. He was ready for bed," Melinda replied. "You don't know what you dressed him in before bed?" The dispatcher responded. He might not have shoes on. He didn't have a shirt on. He had on a pair of jean shorts. He's only 2, she said. Now, I understand maybe not necessarily remembering what you put him in before bed because you're flustered. I mean, you went in and he's missing and you're just freaking out, but who puts their 2-year-old to bed in jean shorts? Poor little guy. Investigators show up to Melinda Duckett's apartment. They find Trenton's bedroom window officially announced they believed that he'd been abducted, and they made an appeal to the public to help search for him. Several days after his disappearance, investigators stated they had no reason to believe that Trenton was deceased or that he'd been taken out of the local area. And suddenly, his parents were the focal point of the investigation. Now remember, they're in the process of a pretty heated divorce and a pretty difficult custody battle. Melinda had won a temporary restraining order against Joshua after accusing him of threatening both her and Trenton's life. Joshua denies any allegations about this. He gave her an interview and he just laid it all out. He said she reported Trenton missing and that I had taken him. I was in questioning for almost 18 hours. Joshua fully cooperated with investigators, but evidence was starting to stack up against Melinda, including a fake email that Melinda had shared with the Leesburg police, an email that claimed that Joshua threatened to hurt her and Trenton. She'd gone to such far lengths as to log in to Joshua's account to send herself this email. Suspecting that Melinda was trying to frame Joshua, investigators took a closer look at Trenton's bedroom, where he had gone missing. There was no disturbance on the ground outside the window, which really didn't match someone climbing through the window and taking a baby out. He's 2, but he's a baby. Melinda was studying criminal psychology and at the same time was being investigated. For what, you may ask? Well, for embezzling thousands of dollars from the bank where she worked. Melinda quickly became the only suspect in this case, but there was still no sign of 2-year-old Trenton. The police started trying to follow Melinda, trying to talk to her, trying to get some information out of her. About a week after he went missing, police really believed that they were not certain that Trenton had disappeared when Melinda said he did. No one other than Melinda had reported having seen Trenton since his mother picked him up from daycare 1 full day prior to his reported disappearance, and witnesses reported seeing Melinda alone in the hours prior to Trenton going missing. Melinda refused to take a polygraph, and she failed a voice stress test. What's even more weird is investigators looked through her trash, and they found photographs, sonograms, Trenton's clothes, and toys, and some of his snacks in the trash, like right after he was reported missing. What? It's unclear why someone tried to throw those things away, but made the police pretty suspicious, and me too. Melinda told her attorney that she took her son and a gun and went to the shooting range the day before, but they got lost and drove around Central Florida for 8 hours. That's why no one saw them that day. 2 weeks after Trenton disappeared, Melinda agreed to appear on TV with an interview with Nancy Grace. Nancy asked questions that legitimately needed to be answered, at least according to Joshua Duckett. But that interview did not go like Melinda had planned. Police found notes on her computer with prepared questions and answers, and in the interview she just wasn't portrayed as the victim that she wanted to be. During the broadcast, Nancy Grace really accused Melinda of being evasive, and what happens next is really weird. The day after Melinda taped this interview, she wrote a letter my son, the 21-year-old wrote, I love him, and I only wanted him safe in my arms. You created rumors and twisted words. When she finished writing her letters, she placed one of them, unsigned, it was 2 pages long, on the dashboard of her car. She walked into her grandparents' home, fetched her grandfather's shotgun, went into a closet, placed the gun under her chin, and fatally shot herself. In other letters, she wrote that the letter was a last-minute idea, but she felt herself sinking after the 1-week mark of Trent being gone. I love him dearly, and he is all I was breathing for. He was and always will be my essence, and as he grows, I want him to know that. Like I said, she left several notes, the one that I mentioned above, one to her grandparents, one to her parents. I read that there were 4 of them. I don't know who the other was to, but none of the notes disclosed any information as to where Trent was or what happened to him. She wrote in the letter to her grandparents, the main reason I'm doing this is because after my baby is found, I will not be a good mom. With 2 jobs and a full-time school, I tried my hardest, but I always slacked in some area. Trenton should have had my full attention at all times. I'm sorry. In a postscript in the note to her grandparents, she wrote she'd left them something in the ashtray of her car. It was a wad of money. In the note to her parents, she thanked them for giving her emotional support and asked that they not take her suicide personally. Her family believes that the stress of her son's disappearance and the subsequent media scrutiny was the reason behind her suicide. She had a history of depression and 2 previous stays in mental hospitals. She had harmed herself prior or threatened to. Her parents filed a wrongful death suit against the Nancy Grace show and CNN in December of 2006. In November of 2010, the lawsuit was settled out of court and CNN set up a $200,000 trust fund to finance the search for Trenton. Now, on September 21st, nearly a month after Trenton went missing and 2 weeks after her death, the police named her the prime and only suspect in Trenton's case. They stated they did not necessarily believe that she had harmed him. However, they investigated many possibilities. Maybe he'd been sent to his mother's native South Korea because Melinda had been adopted by the couple in New York. She never knew her biological parents. Maybe, she said she'd like to create, some kind of connection between her Korean relatives and let Trenton get in touch with his roots. Police found no evidence that Trenton had left the United States, however. Police did say they could have arrested Melinda within 4 days of Trenton's disappearance and more than a week before she killed herself, but they didn't because they thought maybe she would lead them to Trenton. They had begun following her and they were using other surveillance techniques, but she shot herself before police could get her to cooperate fully. Almost a full year after Trenton disappeared, investigators stated they had not ruled out several theories in this case. They no longer believe he was abducted by a stranger, or that his mother gave him to another individual to hide from Joshua. Authorities remain hopeful that Trenton is alive somewhere, and they continue to actively investigate his disappearance. So, what happened to Trenton? That's a question that's been plaguing his father every single day since Trenton was reported missing. He was a bundle of joy. He was a ton of fun to be around, said Trenton's father there's just no evidence. Some people will argue he was killed, some people argue he was handed off, but when I look at the case, I see a missing kid with no real good explanation as to what happened to him, said Leesburg Police Captain Brian Nash. The real question is, could this case have gone a different direction? On November 17th, 2020, Leesburg Police told Fox News some information that had been left out of this investigation. Investigators confirmed that back on September 9th, 2006, they had signed a warrant to arrest Melinda on unrelated charges, and while investigators were mulling over whether it would be a good idea to bring her in and squeeze her for information, she had killed herself that very day. Joshua Duckett told Fox News he had just learned about this, and he had found out about it from a retired detective who showed up at the yearly candlelight vigil that they hold for Trenton. And he wonders why investigators did not make a move. It's way easier to get information out of someone who's not cooperating than someone who's not here. Trenton would be 16 years old now, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released an age progression photo last year of what he could look like. Leesburg police say Trenton's case is still open and active, and they still get tips